The forest of Blackthorn Ridge swallowed the last rays of sunlight, leaving Jaren alone with the rustling leaves. A rugged outdoorsman in his early 30s, he'd ventured into this abandoned woodland, seeking solitude. His tent stood pitched near a crumbling stone cabin, its walls moss-covered and sagging. The air smelled of damp earth and pine, sharp against the chill creeping through his jacket. Jaren adjusted his pack, the weight of his supplies a familiar comfort. Night fell quickly, the canopy above blocking any moonlight. He built a small fire, its crackle the only sound breaking the oppressive silence. The cabin loomed behind him, its broken windows like empty eyes. Jaren had heard rumors, hikers vanishing, strange noises, but dismissed them as campfire tales. He stretched out by the fire, the heat soothing his tired muscles, and drifted toward sleep. A sound jolted him awake. Not the wind, not an animal. A sharp, deliberate tick, 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 like metal tapping stone. His eyes snapped open, scanning the darkness. The fire had died to embers, casting faint light. The noise came from the cabin, faint but insistent. Jaren sat up, heart pounding. He grabbed his flashlight, its beam cutting through the shadows. Nothing moved, but the air felt heavier, as if something watched. He stood, boots crunching on pine needles, and approached the cabin. The tick, tick, tick stopped as he neared, replaced by a low rustle, like leaves disturbed by an unseen foot. Jaren's breath clouded in the cold. He shone the light inside, empty save for a rusted chair and a shattered mirror. Yet the feeling lingered, a prickle on his neck, as if the forest itself held its breath. Jaren retreated to his tent, the flashlight trembling in his hand. The rustle followed, soft but persistent, circling the clearing. He zipped the flap shut, his breath loud in the confined space. The tick-tick-tick returned, sharper now, coming from outside the tent wall. He pressed his ear to the fabric, heart hammering. It wasn't wind, it was too rhythmic, too intentional. He grabbed a knife from his pack, its blade glinting in the dim light. The rustle stopped, but the ticking grew louder, moving along the tent's edge. Jaren's mind raced. Wild animals didn't make such sounds. He shone the light outside, the beam catching a glint of metal in the trees. His breath caught. It was gone in an instant, but the impression lingered. A tool, a weapon, held by something unseen. The fire outside flared briefly, as if stoked by an invisible hand, then died again. Jaren's skin prickled. He stayed still, knife ready, listening. The forest was silent, but the air felt alive, charged with a presence. The tick-tick-tick faded, replaced by a low hum, deep and resonant, vibrating through the ground. Jaren's hands shook as he gripped the knife tighter. Dawn couldn't come soon enough. When the first gray light filtered through the trees, Jaren emerged, expecting relief. Instead, he found deep scratches on the tent, claw marks etched into the fabric. His stomach dropped. The knife felt useless now, a toy against whatever had been here. The hum lingered in his ears, a reminder that the night wasn't over. Jaren packed quickly, the claw marks a silent threat. He slung his pack over his shoulder, the weight unsteady on his trembling frame. The hum followed, a low vibration that set his teeth on edge. He glanced at the cabin. Its windows seemed darker, as if the shadows had thickened. The forest pressed in, the trees bending slightly, as if leaning to watch. He set off along a narrow trail, the crunch of leaves underfoot the only sound. The tick, tick, tick returned, faint but growing, echoing from the trees. Jaren's pace quickened, his breath misting in the cold dawn. He spotted a glint again, metal flashing between branches, then a rustle, closer this time. His heart raced. Whatever it was tracking him. The trail opened to a clearing, an old hunting lodge crumbling at its edge. Jaren ducked inside, the door hanging off its hinges. The air smelled of mold and old blood. He barricaded the door with a broken chair, his hands slick with sweat. The tick, tick, tick stopped outside, replaced by a scraping sound, like claws dragging along wood. Jaren pressed against the wall, listening. A shadow passed the window, too large to be human, its outline jagged and unnatural. The hum grew louder, vibrating through the lodge's walls. Jaren's knife felt small in his hand, his breath shallow. The scraping moved to the roof, a heavy thud shaking the beams. He looked up, the ceiling creaking under the weight. Something was up there, circling, waiting. The silence broke with a sharp crack, wood splitting. Dust rained down, and Jaren's flashlight caught a glimpse of a claw, long and curved, retracting into the shadows. His stomach churned. The hum pulsed, urging him to move, but there was nowhere to go. Jaren pressed himself against the wall. The claw's image burned into his mind. The ceiling groaned again, a slow creak that sent chills down his spine. The hum vibrated through the lodge, syncing with his racing pulse. He gripped the knife, its edge catching the faint light filtering through the cracks. The scraping resumed, methodical, circling the roof. Whatever it wasn't leaving. He moved to the window, peering out. The clearing was empty, but the trees swayed unnaturally, their branches snapping as if pushed aside. A glint flashed again, metal, sharp and deliberate, then vanished. Jaren's breath hitched. The hum grew deeper, a growl that rattled the windows. He ducked as a heavy thud landed on the roof, shaking the lodge's frame. The door rattled, the chair wobbling. Jaren's heart leapt into his throat. He braced himself, knife raised, as the wood splintered. A claw pierced through, long and jagged, its tip glistening with an oily sheen. The air grew colder, the smell of rot seeping in. Jaren swung the knife, striking the claw. It retracted with a screech, a sound that pierced his ears and echoed through the forest. Silence fell, but it was deceptive. The hum returned, softer now, luring him. Jaren's flashlight dimmed, the battery failing. He shook it, the beam flickering, revealing a shadow outside. Tall, hunched, its outline blurred by mist. The tick, tick, tick started again. Closer, inside the lodge. Jaren spun around, the sound coming from behind the wall. Something was inside with him. Jaren's breath came in short gasps as he backed away from the wall. The tick, tick, tick grew louder, the sound reverberating inside the lodge. His flashlight flickered out, plunging him into darkness. The hum pulsed, a heartbeat in the walls, guiding the unseen presence closer. He fumbled for matches, striking one with shaking hands. The flame cast a weak glow, revealing scratches on the floor, fresh, deep, curving like claw marks. The door shuddered again, the chair splintering under pressure. Jaren's knife shook in his grip as a second claw broke through, its edge scraping the wood with a screech. The air thickened, the rot smell overwhelming. He swung the knife again, connecting with a solid thud. The claw retreated, but the hum intensified, a growl that rattled his bones. He stumbled to the window, peering out. The shadow was gone, but the trees swayed violently, branches snapping. A metallic glint flashed. Then a figure, tall and hunched, stepped into the clearing. It wasn't human. Its limbs were too long, its body a mass of twisted muscle and bone, shrouded in tattered rags. No face, just a smooth, dark surface where features should be. Jaren froze, the match burning his fingers. The figure tilted its head, as if sensing him. The tick, tick, tick came from it, a tool in its hand, a rusted blade tapping against a metal rod. The hum surged, and the lodge shook. Jaren dropped the match, the flame dying. Darkness swallowed him, but the figure's outline burned in his mind. The claws scratched again, closer, inside the room. He was trapped.
Jaren pressed his back against the wall, the knife slipping in his sweaty palm. The tick-tick-tick echoed inside, the sound now a rhythm that synced with his heartbeat. The lodge felt alive, its walls pulsing with the hum. He dropped to his knees, searching the floor for anything to use. His fingers brushed a rusted nail, its edge sharp. It wasn't much, but it was something. The window shattered, glass raining down as a claw tore through the frame. Jaren scrambled back, the nail cutting his hand. The figure loomed outside, its faceless head tilting, the rusted blade glinting in the faint light. The hum surged, a roar that shook the lodge. Jaren swung the nail, striking the claw. It recoiled, a guttural screech filling the air, but the figure didn't retreat. The door burst open, the chair exploding into splinters. The figure stepped inside, its movements jerky, unnatural. Its body was a nightmare, long limbs bending at odd angles, rags hanging like decayed skin. The smooth, dark face turned toward him, and Jaren felt a pull, a cold void tugging at his mind. The tick-tick-tick stopped, replaced by silence so thick it hurt. Jaren lunged, driving the nail into the figure's arm. It staggered, the blade clattering to the floor. The hum faltered, but the figure recovered, its claw slashing toward him. Jaren ducked, the nail still in his hand, blood dripping from his cut. The lodge trembled, the walls cracking. He had to get out, now.
Jaren bolted for the broken door, the figure's screech echoing behind him. The lodge shook, beams cracking as he stumbled into the clearing. The hum pursued, a relentless pulse in his skull. His hand throbbed where the nail had cut, blood staining his sleeve. The forest loomed, its trees swaying as if alive, guiding him deeper. He ran, branches slashing at his face, the tick, tick, tick resuming like a hunter's call. The figure emerged from the lodge, its long limbs stretching unnaturally. Jaren's breath burned in his chest, his legs weakening. He spotted a ravine ahead, its edge a jagged drop into darkness. He veered toward it, hoping to lose his pursuer. The ground gave way beneath him, and Jaren slid down the ravine slope, rocks cutting his palms. He landed hard, the wind knocked out of him. The hum faded, but the tick, tick, tick grew louder, descending after him. He scrambled to his feet, the ravine's walls closing in, moss slick and oppressive. A shadow loomed above, the figure perched at the edge, its blade tapping rhythmically. Jaren ducked behind a boulder, his heart pounding.
The tick, tick, tick stopped, replaced by a rustle, closer now. He peeked out. The figure was gone, but the air felt charged, its presence inescapable. The hum returned, soft and luring, pulling him toward the ravine's depths. He resisted, clutching the nail, its edge now his only defense. Jaren clung to the boulder, the nail's edge digging into his palm. The ravine's walls seemed to close in, the moss slick under his boots. The hum pulsed softly, a siren call drawing him deeper. He fought it, his mind racing for an escape. The tick, tick, tick resumed, echoing off the stone, closer than before. His breath hitched as a shadow flickered above. He peeked out. The figure was descending, its long limbs gripping the ravine walls with unnatural ease. The rusted blade scraped against the rock, sending sparks into the darkness. Jaren's heart pounded, his hand tightening on the nail. The figure paused, its faceless head tilting, as if sniffing the air. The hum grew, a low growl that vibrated through the ground. Jaren moved, scrambling along the ravine's base. The tick, tick, tick followed, relentless, the figure gaining ground. He tripped, falling into a shallow stream, the icy water soaking his clothes. The hum surged, and the figure leapt, landing with a thud that shook the earth. Jaren rolled aside, the blade slashing the air where he'd been. He crawled to a crevice, squeezing inside as the figure's claw scraped the entrance. The tick, tick, tick stopped, but the hum remained, a constant pressure in his skull. The crevice was tight, the stone cold against his skin. Jaren held his breath, the nail trembling in his hand. The figure's shadow loomed outside, its presence a weight he couldn't shake. Jaren pressed deeper into the crevice, the stone scraping his back. The hum thrummed in his chest, a relentless beat urging him to move. The figure's shadow loomed larger, its claw scraping the entrance with a grating sound. Jaren's hand bled freely now, the nail slick with blood. He gritted his teeth, the pain a sharp focus against the terror. The tick, tick, tick returned, but persistent, coming from within the crevice. Jaren froze, his breath shallow. The sound was behind him, inside the rock. He turned, the flashlight dead in his pocket. The match flared briefly, revealing a narrow tunnel branching off. The tick, tick, tick grew louder, a rhythm that pulled at his nerves. He crawled forward, the tunnel tightening around him. The hum followed, vibrating through the stone. The figure's screech echoed outside, a sound of frustration as it clawed at the crevice. Jaren's elbows scraped raw, the nail his only weapon. The tunnel opened into a small chamber, its walls etched with strange symbols glowing faintly blue. The tick, tick, tick stopped, replaced by a low growl. Jaren's light caught a glint, a rusted blade embedded in the chamber floor, surrounded by bones. His stomach turned. The hum surged, and the symbols pulsed, casting an eerie glow. The figure's shadow filled the tunnel entrance, its presence a cold weight. Jaren gripped the nail, knowing he was cornered. Jaren stared at the rusted blade, its edge dulled by time, but still menacing. The chamber's symbols pulsed, casting blue light that danced on the bones. The hum was a constant pressure, pushing him toward the blade. He resisted, clutching the nail, its blood-slick surface slippery in his grip. The figure's shadow filled the tunnel, its wow rumbling through the stone.
He reached for the blade, his fingers brushing its cold metal. The hum surged, and the symbols flared, blinding him. A vision flashed, a hunter, faceless, dragging a body through the forest, the tick-tick-tick of its blade marking each step. Jaren recoiled, the image searing his mind. The figure lunged, its claw slashing the air. Jaren ducked, rolling to the chamber's far side. The claw struck the wall, sending rock fragments flying. The hum faltered, the symbols dimming. Jaren seized the moment, yanking the blade free. Its weight was surprising, the rust flaking off in his hand. The figure screech, retreating slightly, but the tunnel shook, rocks crumbling. The hum returned, stronger, pulling him toward the figure. Jaren swung the blade, its edge catching the claw. A metallic clang echoed, and the figure staggered, its growl turning to a snarl. Jaren pressed forward, the blade his shield. The chamber trembled, the exit collapsing. He was trapped, but the fight was his now.
Jaren gripped the rusted blade, its weight anchoring him as the chamber shuddered. The figure recovered, its claw slashing wildly. Jaren parried, the blade clanging against the claw, sparks flying. The hum roared, the symbols pulsing faster, their blue light blinding. The air grew thick, the rot smell choking him. He ducked another swipe, the claw grazing his shoulder. The figure pressed forward, its faceless head tilting, the void pulling at Jaren's mind. He stumbled, the blade slipping, but caught it, driving it into the figure's leg. A screech erupted, the sound echoing off the walls. The hum faltered, the symbols dimming. Jaren yanked the blade free, blood black and oily, dripping from the wound. The chamber shook violently, rocks crashing down. The figure staggered, its movement slowing. Jaren seized the chance, slashing at its arm. The blade bit deep, severing a claw. Ooh! The figure howled, retreating to the tunnel's edge. The hum weakened, the symbols fading, but the exit remained blocked. Jaren's breath came in ragged gasps, the blade heavy in his hand. The figure's shadow lingered, its presence a cold weight. The tick, tick, tick resumed, faint but growing, from deeper within the chamber. Jaren turned, the sound pulling him toward a dark crevice. The fight wasn't over, something else waited.
Jaren approached the crevice, the rusted blade trembling in his hand. The tick, tick, tick grew louder, a hypnotic rhythm pulling him forward. The chamber's air thickened, the rot smell mingling with a metallic tang. The hum pulsed, guiding him into the darkness. He stepped into the crevice, the stone cold against his skin, the blade his only light. The tunnel narrowed, forcing him to crawl. The tick, tick, tick echoed ahead, each sound a step closer to something unseen. Jaren's elbows bled, the rocks scraping raw flesh. The hum surged, and the tunnel opened into a larger cavern, its walls glistening with moisture. The tick, tick, tick stopped, replaced by a low grasp. A figure stood in the center, taller than the first, its body a mass of twisted bone and sinew. Its arms ended in multiple claws, each tapping a rusted blade against the ground. No face, just a smooth, dark void. The hum roared, the cavern shaking. Jaren's breath caught as the figure turned, its blades rising. He swung the blade, striking a claw. The clang echoed, sparks flying, but the figure didn't flinch. The hum intensified,
the cavern's walls pulsing with blue light. Jaren ducked a swipe, the claws grazing his back. He stabbed upward, the blade sinking into the figure's side. Black blood sprayed, the rasp turning to a snarling snarl. The cavern trembled, rocks falling. Jaren retreated, the blade slick with blood. The figure advanced, its blades tapping faster. He was outmatched, but the fight was his only chance. Jaren swung the blade again, the impact jarring his arm. The figure's claws parried, the clang reverberating through the cavern. The hum roared, the blue light blinding, the air thick with rot and blood. Jaren's shoulder burned where the claw had grazed, blood seeping through his shirt. He gritted his teeth, driving the blade into another claw. The figure staggered, black blood pooling on the ground. The hum faltered, the cymbals flickering. Jaren pressed his advantage, slashing at the figure's legs. The blade bit deep, and the figure collapsed to one knee, its rasp turning to a guttural cry. The cavern shook, rocks crashing around them. The figure lashed out, a claw catching Jaren's leg. He fell, the blade skittering away. The hum surged, the figure rising, its blades poised to strike. Jaren scrambled for the blade, his fingers brushing its edge. The figure's void-like face turned to him, the pull on his mind intensifying. He gripped the blade, thrusting it upward as the claws descended. The blade pierced the figure's chest, black blood gushing. The hum stopped, the cymbals fading to darkness. The figure froze, then crumbled into ash, its blades clattering to the ground. Jaren collapsed, gasping. The cavern silent. But the tick, 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 tick resumed, faint, from deeper within. The fight wasn't over. Jaren lay panting, the rusted blade still in his hand. The cavern's silence was deafening, the ash of the figure settling around him. The tick, tick, tick grew louder, a new rhythm from the cavern's depths. His leg throbbed where the claw had struck, blood pooling beneath him. He forced himself up, the blade his lifeline. The crevice ahead pulsed with a faint blue light. Hum returning, softer but insistent. Jaren limped forward, the stones slick with moisture. Tick, tick. The tick, tick, tick led into a narrow passage, its walls etched with the same symbols. He entered, the air growing colder, the rot smell fading into something sweeter, like decay masked by flowers. The passage opened into a chamber larger than the last, its center dominated by a stone altar. On it lay a rusted blade, identical to the one he held, surrounded by a circle of bones. The hum surged, the cymbals glowing brightly. A shadow moved, another figure, taller, its body a mass of twisted limbs and claws, its face a void. Tick, tick, tick. The tick, tick, tick came from it, its blades tapping in unison. Jaren raised his blade, the weight steadying him. The figure advanced, its claws slashing. Jaren parried, the clang echoing, but his strength waned. The hum pulled at his mind, the void threatening to consume him. He swung desperately, the blade catching a claw. The figure snarled, retreating slightly. Jaren pressed on, the fight his only hope, the cavern trembling around them. Jaren's arms burned as he swung the blade, the figure's claws meeting each strike with a metallic clang. The hum roared, the altar's symbols blazing blue, the air thick with mist and decay.
His leg buckled, the wound weakening him, but he gritted his teeth, driving the blade into the figure's side. Black blood sprayed, the figure staggering. The cavern shook, rocks crashing as the figure lashed out, a claw raking Jaren's arm. He fell, the blade slipping, but caught it, thrusting upward. The blade pierced the figure's chest, black blood gushing. The hum faltered, the symbols dimming. The figure froze, then dissolved into ash, its blades clattering to the altar. Jaren collapsed, the cavern silent. The tick, tick, tick faded, the hum gone. He crawled to the altar, the rusted blade still there, its twin, now ash. His hand shook as he touched it, a cold pulse running through him. The symbols faded, the chamber darkening. The forest was quiet outside, but Jaren knew the hunter's spirit lingered, waiting for the next prey. He limped out, the blade his only remnant, the weight a reminder of the shadows that hunted Blackthorn Ridge.